Welcome back, guys, to the Andrew Delish podcast. Another episode, another reality check. Many topics today. What should I start off with? Charlie Kirk? Women? Man? Canada? What's happening here? Super Bowl? The Super Bowl performance with Bad Bunny. Professors. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's start off with what Charlie Kirk said. The late, great GOAT, Charlie Kirk. Okay, so once Charlie Kirk, he was like doing a podcast, or maybe it was like a live episode. It was live, he had a live audience, and he was talking about how real men don't have meaningless sex with random women, and real men don't go out and party and try to find a one-night stand. Now, listen, this is why I have like mixed opinion regarding his take. You guys know how much I love and respect Charlie Kirk. I think he's really smart and really educated individual. But regarding this, like if we're being honest, like Charlie Kirk probably wasn't a womanizer when he was younger. Now, maybe he was, I don't know. But I got the feeling if I had to place a bet and I had to bet money on, I will bet money on that he wasn't a womanizer. We all know what womanizers tend to look like. Tend to look like more like G's, quote unquote, like top G's, like Andrew Tate and Leonardo DiCaprio and many other people. Maybe he was a womanizer, I don't know. But to get back to the main argument, to what he said. Real men, now, this is where it differs. If you're a man and you have a lot of choices of women, and then you choose not to sleep with many different women and not to have a polygamous lifestyle, if you choose voluntarily, then that can be seen like an act of being a real man. Even though I don't feel like that's an act of being a real man. I feel like that's maybe something that is more towards the women's side. The less women sleep with men, maybe they're seen as more women. But for men, I don't see it like that. So that's why I don't really agree with his take. So like I said, if there's a man who has a lot of options and he willingly, with his own willpower, decides to not sleep with a bunch of random women, have a bunch of random one-night stands, if he willingly denies them, and he denies them, then that can be seen as a real man act. But if it's just simply a guy who doesn't get women, isn't really good at pooling women, isn't really good at closing the deal with women, even if it's for one-night stands or for going on a date or whatever, and then he says, oh, you know what? I'm a real man because I don't sleep with a lot of women and I don't do one-night stands. That's not a real man. That's just a man who doesn't get women. And then he compensates by saying, oh no, I'm a real man, so he feels better about himself. There's two differences that can be considered, even though, like I said, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with being a man or a real man, in my opinion. That's how I see it. But I understand how some people might see it. But if you want to adopt that mindset, the only time it can make sense is if, like I said, it's a man who has a lot of options, a lot of female options, a lot of women options, to have fun with them, have one-night stands, to go on date or whatever it might be, then it can make sense. And then he willingly denies them and he willingly decides to not sleep with them. He has the choice, quote unquote. Then that can be seen as a man act and him being a real man. But like I said, if it's a guy who simply doesn't get women, isn't good with women, isn't a womanizer, and then he falls on this quote, then he might say, you know what, I'm a real man because I don't decide to sleep. I don't decide to sleep with women. I don't decide to sleep with women. I decide to not sleep with a lot of women and to do one-night stands. That's different. You know that the only reason you're not doing it is not because you don't want to, it's because you can't. There's a big difference between wanting and having and canting. Is that a word? I don't know. I just haven't a word. There's a difference between wanting something and having the ability to accomplish something or to do something. There's a huge difference. So people who can't sleep with women and people who don't want to sleep with women but can, two differences. There's involuntary celibates, people who involuntarily are celibate, and there's people who are voluntarily celibate. Two differences. One guy doesn't want to be celibate, but just because he's not a top G, I guess, and a top tier man, or just simply a man who doesn't get women, isn't good with women, then that's an involuntary celibate. But if it's a guy who voluntarily doesn't want to be in a relationship or to sleep with a woman, but he can because he has a lot of choices, that's different. Two huge differences. Now, that's why I feel like maybe this take from Charlie Kirk wasn't the best. Like I said, I love Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace. He's really, really smart, but I don't agree with everything he said. Now, this is one of the takes that I don't agree with. Now, of course, in the past, I always used to say he believed that abortions shouldn't be legal, that women shouldn't have the choice to have an abortion or to not, or to keep the baby. That's where I also disagree with him. I feel like women should have that opportunity to decide, should have the possibility to decide, because it's their body, it's their choice, like it or not. At the end of the day, they're the ones carrying the baby. That's really fucking hard. If they don't want to carry a baby for 9 months and then go through delivery and whatever else it takes, it's her choice, her body, her choice. That's my mentality. But it's also one other thing that I don't agree with Charlie Kirk is that real men don't sleep with a lot of women, and that real men don't have meaningless sex with random women. I disagree. I feel like, in my opinion, now feminists, don't come after me, don't call me a sexist. It's just how I see the world. I feel like most of the people see the world like I see it. Well, what I'm about to say right now is, the more a man sleeps with many different women, the more he becomes like a king. Like, not a king, of course, but like the more value he gets. Now, feminists, please don't kill me. It's just how I see the world. And I feel like 98% of human beings see it like I see it when it comes to this certain subject. The more a man can sleep with women, and with more women he sleeps, amongst men, he's seen like a top G. It's a fact. Hate on me all you want. I didn't invent this. I'm just the messenger. I'm just saying it how it is on my reality check. And the more a woman sleeps with man, it's countersense to man. The more she sleeps with man, the more her value drops. Quote unquote, guys, don't kill me. But it's just how I see the world. And I feel like many people see the world like how I see it. And of course, if you're someone who doesn't have the same perspective as I do, you're allowed to have the perspective that you want to have. And hey, each to his own. But like I said, I have the right to my opinion, and that's my opinion. And also when I saw that take from Charlie Kirk, I read the comments, right? Of course, I'm always going to read the comments, just see what the people think, just see their thoughts. And just, of course, side note, the comment section in every IG or TikTok clip is the funniest section in the fucking world. Now, I don't know for TikTok clips, I don't really watch TikTok, I just post my clips. But for IG clips, IG reels, the comment section is the most funniest thing in the fucking world. Humans can be funny as fuck, man. People are funny as fuck, man. And when I read those comments regarding what Charlie Kirk said about real men don't sleep with random women, they don't have meaningless sex, their goal isn't to sleep with as much as women as possible. Many guys wrote, "Oh, I'm 20 years old and I'm still a virgin. I'm 19 years old and I'm a virgin." Praise. Like, they wrote it like if it was something good. Virginity in man isn't something to boast about. It's not something to praise, and it's not something that's seen as cool or good, quote unquote. Virginity amongst women, that's something that's seen as good or as something to praise. That's how it is. And there's nothing wrong there. I lost my virginity at a later age. I was like 19 or 20. I think I was 20. I mean, I know it wasn't fun, but shit happened. But if we keep it honest, a man who's a virgin at 21, 22, that's not something to praise, or at 19, 20. It's not something bad. It's not something bad. It's not like he's a loser or something. Maybe he's a guy who has a lot of choices, just decides that he doesn't want to, wants to wait until marriage. That's something else. But if he's a guy who simply cannot get girls, that's also something else. So you can be a virgin at 22 or 23 or even 25, 26. It just depends who you are. Russell Wilson was a virgin until he was like 26, 27 before he married Ciara. He was a virgin before that. And guys, do you believe me that he was virgin out of choice or out of because he just had no choice? Believe me, it was out of choice. It's fucking Russell Wilson. He was a multi-millionaire, one of the greatest QBs in the world in his prime when he was a virgin. He could have slept with almost any girl in America, but he decided not to. So that's something that we can see as something to praise. Maybe, I don't know if something to praise. I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah. It can be something good. It can be romantic. You know, he's waiting for marriage. It can be something that's seen as good. Why not? But the fact remains that he had a lot of choices, and he could have slept with many girls he wanted to. He voluntarily said, "No, I don't want to. I'm waiting until marriage." That's something else. But if you're simply a guy who cannot get girls, and then you're hanging on to this quote or to this take from Charlie Kirk, and then you say, "Oh no, it's because I'm actually a real man." I mean, I know it's hard to tell yourself the truth. That's like the hardest thing in the world. Everyone has trouble doing it. Even Elon Musk said many times that all human beings will have a problem of telling our own selves the truth. But it's the most important thing. Is don't ever lie to yourself. Jordan Peterson said it many times. Try to not lie to yourself, because when you don't lie to yourself, when you tell yourself the truth, that's when you're capable of growing and reaching your full potential. But I understand that it can be hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for him. It's hard for him. It's hard for everyone. It can be hard for everyone to tell the truth to himself, because we don't like to hear the truth. Because most of the time, the truth that we're hiding from, the reason we're hiding from it is because it's a harsh truth to hear. It's a harsh reality to see and to hear. It's a fact. But at the end of the day, if you want to grow, if you want to become better and better, you need to face the truth and to face the reality and become a better person. That's how it is. But to get back to what I was saying, yeah. So to those guys who hang on to that quote, maybe it's because, I mean, I believe all guys can get girls. They don't have the balls to approach women. I'm speaking for the guys who don't get girls. They don't have the balls to approach women. You have to approach them. They're not going to approach you. Even if you're fucking Brad Pitt, they're not going to approach you. You have to approach them. Of course, you're going to face rejection. I don't care who you are. You're going to face rejection. I face rejection. He faced rejection. Everyone faces rejection when facing women, when approaching women. Of course, that's normal. But the goal is to keep going and to keep pushing until you get what you want, until you get the prize that you want. That's how it works. So, of course, I understand the fear of rejection is really, really scary. No one likes it. No one wants to face it. But at the end of the day, you have to man up, say, fuck it. I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to face my fears. I'm going to approach that girl no matter how scary it might seem. I'm still going to do it, because at the end of the day, that's how you get to sleep with the most women. The men who sleep with the most women aren't the best looking man. They aren't necessarily the richest man. They aren't necessarily the most famous man. They aren't necessarily the man with the biggest status or the best looking man in general. It's simply the men who are the most extroverted. Men who approach the most women, who are the most extroverted, who talk to the most women, who approach the most women, who shoot their shot with the most women. They're the guys who will sleep with the most women. It's as simple as that. Now, of course, you can take a unicorn, like you can say, oh, but what about Justin Bieber? Broski, there's one Justin Bieber on planet Earth. He doesn't have to do anything. He simply has to pick up his phone, answer to any of the 10,000 of women who sent him a text and say, yo, pull up, and she's going to pull up to his house. That's a unicorn. That's a unicorn. You can become a unicorn, but you have to work hard. You have to become really rich, really successful, really famous, and really whatever. But like I said, you can also have that, fame, money, success, looks, whatever, and still not be a womanizer. You have to have that inside of you to say, I want to be a womanizer, and I can be a womanizer. I have the skill set. And the most important is you want to be a womanizer. There was a study done by many researchers who said the men who sleep with the most women are simply the men who want to sleep with the most women. That's all it takes. You need to have the want, the willingness, and then to actually put your words into action. That's what it takes to become a womanizer. And it's done by many researchers. There's been many studies around this, and they all came to the same conclusion. The men who sleep with the most women are simply the men who want to sleep with the most women. Like I said, it's not necessarily the best looking man. It's not necessarily the most famous man, the richest man, the man with the best status, whatever. It's simply the men who want to sleep with the most women. It's as simple as that. That's a fact. Like I said, many research, many studies. Now, of course, if you do have looks, if you do have fame, if you do have money, if you do have status, and then plus you have the willingness and the drive to sleep with the most women and to become a womanizer or a playboy, then of course you add that all up together, you get Charlie Sheen, you get Leonardo DiCaprio, you get Will Chamberlain. Was it Will Chamberlain? Yeah, I think Will Chamberlain. You get, who else is known to have slept with a lot of women? Like all these rock stars, I guess. But you get the gist. You get DiCaprio, you get Charlie Sheen, you get well, Will Chamberlain, you get the Warren Beatty, you get all these guys who are known to be womanizers. Like I said, if you add all of that together, of course, like there's a story once I heard of a guy, a DJ in Australia, who said when Leonardo DiCaprio came to Australia to film his film, to shoot his film, The Great Gatsby was filmed in Australia. Every single night he would go to that nightclub where that DJ was playing, and he said that when he was there, there was like 50 top models, 50 female top models, and every single night Leonardo DiCaprio slept with a different one. And they all knew, but hey, they all wanted a piece of DiCaprio, which I understand, it's normal. They all wanted a piece of DiCaprio, but DiCaprio, since he has looks, fame, status, money, and plus the most important factor of it all, the it factor, the willingness and the drive to sleep with the most women. He had all of that. Of course, he's gonna pull up to a nightclub, sleep with any girl he wants to, just point his finger at her. He's gonna sleep with her, and night after night, the DJ said he slept with all of them. At the end of his shoot, when he finished shooting the film, he slept with all the top models that were there in the nightclub. One night, different one. Every single night, a different one. He has that luxury. Hey, I hope one day I have that luxury. Yeah, but yeah, and also, so this for my guys. Many times I hear my friends say, oh, she's not interested. We started texting. I got her Instagram. We started texting. She seems dry. She's not responding, or she's responding, but she's taking time, and she's responding dry, whatever. At the end of the day, women, they play a lot of games to see what type of man you are. Now, if you're a guy who looks like a fuckboy, of course, women are really, really smart. Believe me, women are really, really smart, and they're really, really cunning. They're actually way more cunning than we men are. They're just naturally built like that, a woman. They're gonna play games, quote unquote, but they're mostly gonna test man to see what your true intentions are and what you're actually looking to get out of her. Is it just a one-night stand, a relationship, a serious relationship, a short-term relationship, whatever it is? Women generally are really, really smart and cunning when it comes to knowing what a man wants out of her when it comes to relationships and sexual relationships. They're really, really smart. That's why they know how to play these games and ask certain questions and act a certain way, which from your perspective, it might seem like she's not interested or it's not going to happen, but you just have to keep pushing. Now, of course, maybe she isn't interested. I mean, no matter who you are, even if you're fucking Brad Pitt, some girls aren't interested in you. That's just normal. But if she is interested, she's still going to play games. Even if a girl, many times that I see at the bar, I was a bartender for like 8 years. Many times I saw a girl speak to her friends, say, oh my God, that guy over there is so cute. But then when the guy will approach her, she's going to act like she doesn't care about him. Like, oh, stop talking to me. But before the guy came, I heard her say to her friend, oh my God, he's so fucking cute. I just found my husband. I'm like, okay, like if the guy approaches her, it's done deal. Then me as a wingman, hey, I'm like the greatest wingman alive. I would sometimes go and see that guy if I wasn't in a rush and I had the time. And I would tell him, broski, go and see her. It's done deal, bro. She's been telling her friend, that she's fucking in love with you and that she thinks you're hot. I would tell the guy, I would wingman him, like, bro, go and see her. Then when he would go and see her, he would come back. He was like, bro, are you sure? I went to see her. She acted all cold. She barely looked me in the eyes. She barely spoke to me. She barely answered my questions. And at the end, she like barely gave me her Instagram. Like she gave it to me, but I had to work for it. And I'm like, oh, but when you think about it logically, she's really interested. But in her mind, she says, I cannot act all interested or I'm going to look like a hoe, quote unquote. And also, I don't want to look easy, quote unquote. So that's why I'm going to play hard to get. But deep down, she's really interested into the guy. So guys, this is for mostly younger guys who are getting new to the game. Even if a girl looks uninterested, even if she looks like she doesn't give a fuck about you, maybe she actually doesn't give a fuck about you, or maybe she actually isn't interested. But there's also a reasonable percentage that she is interested and she does actually give a fuck. So the most important isn't to listen to what they say, but to look at their actions. If she's responding to your text, that's already a good sign, because if a woman isn't interested since the beginning, she's probably not going to give you her Instagram, or even if she gives you her Instagram for more followers, she's not going to respond to your text. So already there, through her actions, you see that she's not interested. But if she's responding to your text and you get to go on a date with her, even if on the date she looks like all cold, look at the actions. Is she looking at you or whatever? You can look at body language or at the way she responds, but it's all about looking at a person's actions. A person can talk, can all talk, say whatever, but at the end of the day, what matters are your actions. It's not what you say, it's what you do. That's the most important. Now, it's also what you say. It's important, it can be important. She can express her feelings or whatever. But to know if she's actually interested in you, look at her actions, not at her words. It's the actions that matter the most. That's a little bit of free game. Now, I'm not saying that I know the most, but I have some game to give you guys. Okay, so this was a question I always ask myself. Always, since the beginning, I always ask myself this question. Does history always repeat itself? I've heard it many times. They always say that history always repeats itself. But I've always been like 50-50 on this. Why? I mean, okay, let's say 500 years ago, we had slavery. 300 years ago, right? 300 years ago, we had slavery. Are we going to have slavery in the future? Is history going to repeat itself? I don't think so. I feel like we're never going to have slaves anymore in the Western world. Of course, I think there's still more slaves in like Saudi Arabia or Qatar or some countries. Maybe it's not full on quote unquote slaves. Maybe it's something else that they consider. But I know that there's still talks of there's still being slaves that exist. Actually, let me pull it up. But what I'm trying to say right now is, of course, I understand that history repeats itself. But we're never going to have slaves again in the Western world specifically. We're never going to have slaves again like we had before in America, especially in America before when they had with the African Americans, how they were slaves. I feel like history is never going to repeat itself in that sense. I feel like what else could never happen again? Something crazy. I mean, like civil rights. Black people in the Western world are always going to have civil rights. I feel like it's never going to happen again in the future where history repeats itself and they don't have civil rights anymore. So that's why I'm like 50-50. Maybe on some things like, in the 60s, we had the hippie phase and the hippie phase faded away in like the early 70s. And then we had the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, and then the late 2010s, middle of 2010s, late 2010s, and early 2020s, what we are right now. We had the woke era. We still have the woke era. And I feel like the woke era is the hippie era, but just transformed into something else. So that's something that we can consider as history repeated itself. But for other things, some things are never going to repeat itself. We're never going to have a king again in the Western world that controls everything. I mean, they still have a king in some countries like Saudi Arabia, but in general, in the Western world, it's never going to happen again. We're just going to progress and become better and better regarding human rights and humanity and just how we govern everything. We're always going to be a democracy. And even if we're not a democracy in 3,000 years from now, we're going to be something better, something with more liberty and where the people have even more rights and even more freedom, not less rights and less freedom. So it's not going to be like kings and peasants like it was before. Do slaves still exist today in 2025? I heard some countries still have slaves. Yes, while traditional chattel slavery, where people are bought and sold as property, legally and openly, is illegal everywhere, forms of modern slavery still persist in 2025. What modern slavery means today? Modern slavery is an umbrella term for situations in which people are forced, coerced, or deceived into situations they cannot leave. Some common forms include forced labor in factories, farms, construction, domestic work, human trafficking. That sadly happens still a lot, even in Europe and many other places across the world. Human trafficking for labor, sexual exploitation, etc. Debt bondage, where a person cannot escape work because of debts. That makes sense. Forced marriage, that's true. That is a modern stage of slavery. It is a modern form of slavery. Forced marriage, that sadly still happens today. Even there's some places, I think in the Middle East, where some girls who are like 9 or 8 years old, they're forced into marriages with guys who are like 30 something, 40 something. That's just disgusting to see. Slavery-like practices, children in servitude, because many of these forms are hidden or illegal. They aren't always easy to detect or measure. Yeah, so I guess slavery is illegal across the world, but illegal slavery is always going to exist. Before it was illegal slavery, when black people were slaves in America, it was legal. It was written black on white in the American law system, judicial system, that they're allowed to own slaves and that black people are slaves. So that was fucking crazy. So I feel like that's never going to repeat itself. But modern slavery is always going to exist, like forced labor, human trafficking, debt bondage, forced marriage, and many other things. That's something crazy. But hey, they say that traditional chattel slavery doesn't exist anymore. So I guess that's what I meant. That's never going to repeat itself. But there's still many other forms of modern slavery, like human trafficking is a big one. It's a really, really big one. It's really, really sad. How many people are affected? According to the global estimates of modern slavery, about 49.6 million people were living in modern slavery in 2021. 49.6 million out of 8 billion people. That's a lot, man. Of those, about 27.6 million were in forced labor and 22 million were in forced marriage. Forced labor occurs in nearly every country across many sectors. Examples and places where it still happens: domestic work, agriculture, construction, factories. In many countries, workers may have their documents withheld, be threatened, or have no way to leave the job. Sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. Coercion of women, girls, sometimes boys, into forced sex work. Forced marriage. People, often women or girls, married without real consent and unable to exit that arrangement. State-imposed forced labor. In some places, the government forces people to perform labor in certain military or public works programs under coercion. Debt bondage and exploitation of migrants. Migrants, especially those in irregular status, may be trapped in exploitative labor because of debts, fear, or legal vulnerability. In some conflict zones or weak governance states, even practices that resemble old forms of chattel slavery have been documented. Why it still exists: poverty, weak rule of law or corruption, lack of protection for migrant workers or informal laborers, hidden nature, global supply chains. It's sad, but yeah, that's what I meant from the beginning of the argument. History will always repeat itself? In some cases, yes. In most humane cases, they won't, but still, hey, wars have been happening ever since humans exist, and they're happening today, and they've always been happening. There's never been a year or a single day on planet Earth where there wasn't a war. Ever since humans exist, ever since mammals exist, ever since any type of human, Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, whatever you call them, ever since humans exist, war existed. So I guess some things are always going to exist. I feel like war is always going to be happening in the world. Even if, let's say, like 20,000 years, the war that we know now, humans with guns, maybe that will stop existing, but another form of war will exist. Maybe with robots, AI, artificial intelligence. I don't know, but there's many other things that could happen. And so that's why does history always repeat itself? In some cases, yes. And in some good cases, no. It is what it is. That's not the purpose of life, but that's how life is. That's how life is. So a little bit of personal philosophy. So the devil will always test God's favorites. If you're one of God's favorites, since you're one of God's favorites, you're not going to have life easier than others, which sounds kind of contradictory. Some people could say, well, but wait, if someone's God's favorite, he should have life easier than others. It's actually the opposite. The more you're favored by the gods, the more you're also favored by the devil. That's how it is. The more God gave you, the more the devil's going to come after you. It is what it is. So the more you feel like the world is against you and the more you feel like the devil is against you, is because, first of all, God is testing you. God wants you to become stronger, and you're one of God's favorites. God gave you God doesn't give you problems that doesn't feel like you're capable of solving. God doesn't give you problems that are out of your control or problems that you cannot face or succeed and win and close those problems. God tests us with how much power we have and what he feels like we are able to confront and win. God doesn't make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. Humans are imperfect. God is perfect. So whatever God puts in front of you, it's because he knows that you should face it, and he knows that you have the power and the skill set and the capacities to face and overcome whatever he puts in front of you. That's how God works. He works in miraculous ways. He works in weird ways and strange ways. Like the famous quote, God works in strange ways. But it's a fact. Whatever God puts in front of you, it's because he knows that you're ready to face it. You're ready to face it, and you have the necessary skill set and the necessary weapons to face that certain problem. That's how God works. And believe me, he doesn't make mistakes. You may feel like sometimes, oh God, why did you put this in front of me? You made a mistake. God doesn't make mistakes. Okay, so guys, from my personal experience, I went to many strip clubs. I went to a lot of strip clubs. I love going to strip clubs. I don't love going to strip clubs. I'm not addicted, but hey, it's fun. You go with your friends, have a couple of drinks. You see very beautiful women, especially if it's a strip club with a lot of beautiful women. Some strip clubs, I ain't gonna lie, are crackhead houses. Some strip clubs are crackhead houses. I'm from Gatineau. So for people who are from Gatineau, I'm not gonna name institutional names. I think you guys can identify which strip clubs I'm talking about. In the Ottawa-Gatineau region, there's not 200 strip clubs. There's like 4 or 5 strip clubs at the most here in Ottawa-Gatineau. Some strip clubs are crackhead houses. Those aren't really fun to go at, but sometimes they can be fun depending what you're looking for, quote unquote. But for strip clubs who are well run, who have a really good staff, who have beautiful dancers, and who have a good atmosphere and good service and everything, it's really, really fucking fun. If you're a straight man and you tell me that you don't like going to strip clubs, broski, there's a big chance of you being gay. I ain't gonna lie. If you're a straight man and you tell me, Andre, I don't like going to strip clubs. Now, if you tell me I don't like going to strip clubs where it's like crackhead houses, I understand. But if you tell me I don't like going to strip clubs where there's 10 out of 10 bombs working there as strippers and the service is immaculate, the service is perfect, the establishment is beautiful, the establishment is clean, and you're a straight man and you're telling me you don't like going there, broski, there's a high chance, there's a high probability and a high possibility of you being a homosexual. I ain't gonna lie, that's a fact. Because you're a straight man. No straight man doesn't like looking at beautiful women. No straight man. Now, you don't have to take dances. I understand maybe you don't want to spend money on simply a girl dancing on you. I understand. But saying that you don't like going to strip clubs and looking at beautiful women, as a straight man, you're lying. You're either lying or you're maybe low-key gay, broski. Like, we're going to say it how it is. It's either one of those two. Every straight man likes looking at beautiful women. I don't care which setting. I don't care when and where. Every straight man likes looking at a beautiful woman. And for my girlfriends, for my friends who are girls, who tell me, I don't really have friends who are girls, but for my girls who are listening to this episode, if there's ever a guy, a straight guy who told you, I don't like going to strip clubs. Oh, ew, strip clubs, ew, I don't like that. Broski, first of all, there's 3 choices. Either he's lying to you, so you think that he's like this goody two-shoe guy, really good, really godly-like man who won't cheat on you. So he's either lying to you so that he can hit. He's either low-key gay, lying to you, gay, and lying to you. So there's actually only 2 things. He's either lying to you so that you think of him like a special guy. Oh, he's not like the rest of the guys. If he's a straight man and he's a real straight man, he's just like the rest of us. We're all the same. All straight men are the same. All straight guys, we're all the same. There's no such thing as a straight guy who doesn't like going to strip clubs to watch beautiful women. There's no such thing. He can lie or he can low-key be a homosexual. It's either one of those two. There's no third option. It's either one of those two. He's either lying so he impresses you, quote unquote, if he feels like that's gonna impress a girl, but he's either lying to impress you or he's low-key gay. Either way, it's not a fact. That's how it is. So that's why I get surprised. I'm like, broski, when a straight man tells me he doesn't like going to strip clubs, not like I said, if it's a crackhead house, I understand. But if it's a well-run, beautiful strip club with very beautiful strippers and just the service is amazing, everything is good, he's lying, bro. Broski, look me in the eyes and tell me you're not lying. You're lying, bro. Okay, so guys, I'm going to talk about music right now. We have something that popped up regarding the music industry. It made a lot of heat on social media. And it's about Bad Bunny. For people who don't know, Bad Bunny is going to be performing at Super Bowl 60. He's going to be headlining Super Bowl 60. Before I get into my personal opinion, for guys who don't know who DJ Vlad is like a guy who has a podcast. He does interviews mostly, doesn't really do commentary or whatever, but here he wrote a tweet on Twitter, which I'm going to read out loud. And just before I read it out loud, I agree 100% with what he said regarding Bad Bunny performing at Super Bowl 60. But DJ Vlad, he's like an interviewer, he's a podcaster, he's probably even a DJ. I don't really know a lot about him, but sometimes I see his clips from time to time, and he's actually really, really good. And he said, I'm quoting him, he said on Twitter, he wrote, "Bad Bunny headlining the Super Bowl is strange to me. I'm glad he's getting such a huge opportunity, but none of his songs are in English, and I don't speak Spanish. Most of the audience at the Super Bowl won't speak Spanish. Only 14% of Americans speak Spanish, so most of the television audience won't know or understand his songs either. I can see him doing a major event like FIFA or the World Cup." I agree. As a big soccer fan, as a big real football fan, the real football, Bad Bunny in the World Cup final halftime show, that would make a lot of fucking sense. He's one of the greatest artists in the world. He's probably the biggest reggaeton artist in the world currently, Bad Bunny. And the World Cup, it's filled of people who speak Spanish, French, Spanish, Italian, English, German, African languages, whatever. This European football is more global than the Super Bowl and then American football. American football, we ain't gonna lie. Shout out to all my friends who love American football. I fucking love American football. It's my favorite North American sport. But only North Americans watch American football. No one else. Believe me, broski. There's no one in South America watching American football. There's no one in Central America watching American football. There's no one in Europe watching American football. There's no one in Africa watching American football. And there's no one in Asia watching American football. It's only people from America and from Canada. I'm from Canada and I fucking love the Super Bowl. I love American football. It's a beautiful sport. But it's a fact that only people from North America watch American football. Maybe from time to time, some people in the UK, just out of curiosity, will watch a game or whatever. But if we're being honest, it's mostly North Americans who watch American football. So Bad Bunny at the World Cup final halftime show, I don't know if they don't really do halftime shows in soccer and European football. It's mostly an American thing, halftime shows, especially American football thing. I know that like booking the Super Bowl gig is like one of the biggest gigs an artist can book. So congrats to him, like DJ Vlad said in the beginning. That's fucking, kudos to him. That's fucking amazing. But he also said that only 14% of Americans speak Spanish. And I'm ready to say that only like 3 or 4% of Canadians speak Spanish. There's a way bigger population of Spanish people or of people who speak Spanish in America than in Canada. Like, if I pull up quickly, what percentage of Canadians speak Spanish? So guys, I was right. About 3.2% of Canadians report Spanish as a language they know. So, like I said, only Canadians and Americans watch American football. And only 14% of Americans know Spanish. and only 3.2% of Canadians know Spanish. So it's fair to say that it's a huge minority of a spoken language in America. It's probably like the second biggest language, but I mean, English is by far the first. In Canada, mostly there's French and English speakers, but it's mostly English speakers. Almost all of French speakers know English to a certain degree, either if it's understanding or speaking to a certain degree. So, to get back to the quote, so most of the television audience won't know or understand his songs either. Now, this is where I don't really agree, because I understand Spanish to a certain degree. I have a lot of Colombian friends. I grew up playing soccer with them, football with them. So I learned quite some good Spanish. I understand quite some good Spanish, and I can speak like 10% of real Spanish. So I'm not that bad, considering that I'm way better than some people who don't know a lick of Spanish except for hola or como estas. So I'm not bad. But even though I don't really understand, like when Bad Bunny sings a song, I don't know what he's fucking talking about. I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. Maybe in a 3-minute song, I'm going to hear like 2 or 3 words that I know. But apart from that, I'm not going to understand shit. But I still love his songs. I don't give a fuck. I still love his songs. They're still really, really good songs, really, really beautiful songs, even though I don't understand what they're saying. There's many other songs which are Spanish that I do listen to on a regular basis. I have no fucking idea what they're talking about. I have no clue what they're talking about. But it's still a really, really good song. So that's why, even though if you don't understand the song, what he's saying, it's still a really, really good song. But I understand American football is like peak America. It's like peak America, American event, American culture, American way of life. So I understand people who wanted to be an English singer, American singer, a singer who sings his songs in the English language. I understand, because, like I said, American football, the Super Bowl is like, it's a celebration of American culture at the same time of it being the final, who's going to win the Super Bowl. But it's also a celebration of American culture, American way of life. And most people who watch the Super Bowl are English speakers. Then he goes on to say, I see him doing a major event like FIFA or the World Cup, where there is a massive Spanish audience, but the Super Bowl doesn't make sense. It seems like the NFL is trying to expand its Latino audience at the expense of its existing fans. Now, I hear many people saying on comments saying, oh, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl because of it. And it's like, it's mostly rednecks, like Republicans who lean to the right, who say, oh, because of that, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. That's cap. Y'all are still going to watch the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck who's singing. Even if it was fucking Zdravko Čolić, a Serbian singer, you guys still would have watched the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch the Super Bowl because it's a fucking major event. And you guys love American football way more than I do. So I know you're still going to watch it. So first of all, that's cap. Let me just address that. That's cap. But also, yes, since the main audience of American football is English speakers, and most Latinos in America, they're going to watch the Super Bowl because everyone watches the Super Bowl. Even if you're not a big fan, you still watch the Super Bowl. Just like the FIFA World Cup. Even if someone isn't a big soccer fan or a big European football fan, you're still going to watch the FIFA World Cup final. You're still going to watch it to a certain degree, to a certain extent. And you're going to watch certain games in the World Cup because, hey, it's the fucking World Cup. Same goes for the Super Bowl. I don't watch any American football game except for the Super Bowl. I watch the Super Bowl every single year, but I don't watch any single other game. So there's many other people like me, but Spanish people in America, they mostly watch soccer, just like myself, because that's their culture. Where they come from, it's mostly soccer. And when they arrive here in America, now, of course, when they arrive in America, they can maybe watch more basketball, more baseball, more hockey, more American football. But in general, they watch soccer mostly. So, but yes, I agree that personally, I would have chosen, like, Bad Bunny is still a really, really good fucking singer, but I would have chosen an American singer because, like I said, the Super Bowl is like the peak American celebration of culture, of life, American sports, everything. But hey, like I said, Bad Bunny is an amazing singer. I fucking love his songs, but the Super Bowl is like peak. And like the audience of the Super Bowl, man, they listen to a certain type of music. There's many different audiences, but they could have made something better. So that's why I agree with DJ Vlad, like mostly with everything he said. Even though he said that he doesn't understand Spanish. Still, I don't understand Spanish when he sings his songs, but it's still a really good fucking song, so I don't really care about that. But with everything that DJ Vlad said, I can positively say that I agree 100%. Okay, so recently, when my dad used to go to university, he used to tell me that when he was in university in Serbia, that over there professors would intellectually challenge their students. So professors sometimes would put themselves in positions that they don't agree with on purpose, just so they have a debate with certain students, so that they push the students to think deeper, to analyze better, and to just to push them deeper and to just make better students and better thinkers out of their students. So before, professors were pushing students, even though professors sometimes would put themselves in a more left-wing approach or a more right-wing approach, they would do it on purpose just so the students get more challenged and they get to exercise their argumentation and their thought process. But nowadays, as a university goer, professors don't do that anymore. Nowadays, from my experience at U Ottawa and from all of my friends' experiences at U Ottawa, nowadays professors are all left-leaning, are all woke, now to a certain degree. They're all left-winged, and if you're not left-winged, they're gonna look at you like if you're wrong. Still, like all my classes I had, I never saw a professor who was neutral and who let the students have debates between themselves, between some students who are more conservative and some students who are more liberal. It doesn't happen. And the professors, I don't know how, they always end up being on the left side, on the more liberal side. From my 4 years of university, I never saw a more conservative professor. Maybe there are some of them, but maybe they're afraid of losing their job, so they act more liberal or more woke. But I never met a professor at U Ottawa who wasn't a left-winged individual. They're all liberals. I never met a conservative. I mean, there probably is. Like from my experience, I would say like 80% of professors are liberals, 20% are conservatives, and out of that 20%, 10% are hidden conservatives, so they act like they're liberals, but deep down they're conservatives because fear out of losing their job or offending a student and then causing them to lose their job. That's how I see it. But that's not what university is. We're in a democratic country. Universities are the birthplace of new ideas, the birthplace of the new prime minister, of the new senators, new businessmen. It's the birthplace of the new society. Everyone who's in university, generally speaking, they're the ones who are going to be the future politicians, future businessmen, future professors, future whatever. They're the future of our country. And you have to challenge them emotionally. You have to challenge them with argumentation. Intellectually, you have to challenge them. You have to challenge them on all spheres so that they become the best versions of themselves. But you cannot just choose one side, which U Ottawa is very, very liberal. I'm not going to lie. It's very, very liberal. And all professors choose that side. And if you're somewhat conservative, you feel like an outcast, you feel like a black sheep, and you feel like you don't even have a safe zone where you can express your ideas and be open to argumentation or to debate with other people. Because even the professor is going to choose the other side, and the professor is going to act like if you're wrong, even though there's no right or wrong in certain debates, like should abortion be legal or illegal? There's no 100% definitive wrong, yet right or wrong. It's not like the sky is blue or 2 + 2 = 4. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4. If you say it's 5, you're wrong. It's not the same. It's different. So there's different opinions, different perspectives. So that's why these kind of topics have been up for debate for hundreds of years and many decades, because there's no right or wrong. There's just different opinions and different perspectives. So that's why when it comes to certain topics where there are different perspectives and different opinions, and it's not right or wrong, like 2 + 2 = 4, then there should be place for debating, and the professor should choose a side which will then in fact push the student to intellectually become better and to debate with the professor. But it shouldn't be the professor always choosing the left liberal side and then acting like the guy who's more conservative is wrong and doesn't know what he's talking about. That's where, now, not all professors do that. Some professors are better than others, just like any other profession. Some cops are better than others. Some doctors are better than others. Some lawyers are better than others. Same goes for everything. Same goes for professors. Some professors are just naturally better than others. Some professors have more experience than others. But at the end, that's like the bare minimum. Intellectually challenging your students should be the bare minimum for every university professor. Intellectually challenging your students should be the bare minimum, in my opinion. Okay, so recently, guys, Jimmy Kimmel got canceled for like 1 week and then he came back. He's not canceled anymore because he made some remarks regarding Charlie Kirk. But I'm not going to talk about that. I already talked about Jimmy Kimmel and what he said. But what I do want to talk about is cancel culture. I've always been against cancel culture. And 99% of the time, it's someone from the left trying to cancel someone from the right. But this time, for like probably the first time in history, people from the right were trying to cancel someone from the left. And as much as I was against people from the left trying to cancel someone from the right, I'm also against people from the right trying to cancel someone from the left. I'm all against cancel culture. I don't care on which sides. I'm all against cancel culture. As long as someone doesn't do something illegal, he should have the right to express himself or to do whatever he wants, as long as it's not illegal. So that's why I'm all against cancel culture. I don't care it's on which side it is. When it's cancel culture, if it's someone from the right trying to cancel someone from the left, or someone from the left trying to cancel someone from the right, I'm all against it. 100% against it. 100%. Okay, so guys, tomorrow is promised to no man. I'm going to be a little bit philosophical right now, but it's true. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So whatever your dream is, whatever you want to accomplish, I know Elon Musk once said, the best way and the fastest way to accomplish your dreams is to take your 10-year goal plan, to take your 10-year plan and try to accomplish it in 6 months. You're probably going to fail. That's what he said. But you're going to be way closer to accomplishing your dream than what you would have been if you wouldn't have applied that method into your life. That's a fact, because you never know what's going to happen. Some people, knock on wood, some people are going to wake up dead tomorrow. Some people are going to die tomorrow. Knock on wood. Like I said, I don't wish that upon anyone. Not even my biggest enemies. I don't wish that upon anyone. But it's a fact of life. You never know what's going to happen. You don't have time to waste. Life goes by so quickly. If there's one thing that all people agree on, like every single human being agrees on, is that time goes by quickly. Everyone agrees on that fact, right? So time does go by quickly. Don't wait on nothing. Don't try to be perfect before you start something, because you're never going to be perfect. Many times I hear people saying, oh, I'm not going to start a YouTube channel until I have everything set up and everything is perfect. Broski, you're never going to be perfect. It's impossible. Until your last breath, you're not going to be perfect. And that goes out for everyone. So whatever you want to accomplish, do it now. Don't wait for anything. Go as fast as you can. Like I said, like Elon Musk said, the fastest way to accomplish your dreams and the best way to accomplish your dreams is to take your 10-year plan and try to accomplish it in 6 months. You're probably going to fail because that's crazy, but you're going to be way closer to accomplishing your goals and your dreams than what you would have been if you wouldn't have adopted that method. So that's why when I heard that quote, I mean, it's a really good quote, and it's from someone. I mean, Elon Musk is one of the most accomplished individuals on planet Earth, one of the most accomplished individuals of all time. So, I mean, I think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to accomplishing your dreams. And of course, when you go through the process of accomplishing your dreams, chasing your dreams, hitting your goals, accomplishing your goals, you're going to go through failure. And I spoke many times about failure, but it's a fact. Failure, I understand when it comes to talking about failure, we all understand that failure is normal, and it's only through failure that we can grow and become better and get closer to accomplishing our dreams. But there's a huge difference between talking about failure and facing failure and rejection. There's a huge difference. Even though you mind yourself, you tell yourself, and you truly believe that failure is normal, and you have to face failure to become a better version of yourself and to get closer to accomplishing your dreams. Even when you're convinced 100% of that fact, even then, when you face failure, it's still fucking hard. It's still not fun, and it's still fucking disgusting to face. We all hate facing failure. Even when we know for a fact that it's a must, that you have to face failure. Year after year, decades after decades, centuries after centuries, accomplished people after accomplished people telling us that we have to face failure. It's like a known fact nowadays. We all know that you have to face failure and that it's a normal process. Like we all know that because we heard so many successful people talking about that they failed a lot of times and that you have to fail a lot. And the more you fail, the more successful you'll be. Like we all know that. But even though we know it, when we face failure, it's the harshest thing we can face. I don't know why. Maybe it's like when it comes to speaking of it, we understand it's easier. But when it comes to truly facing failure, that's what separates the winners from the losers. How you face failure and how you continue living your life after facing your failures. And do you still chase your dreams after receiving 100 no's and after doing it for years and nothing happening and receiving 100 fails? The guy who keeps going, he's going to succeed. And the guy who quits, who stops going forward, he's never going to succeed. Now, I heard Chris Willicks once say on his podcast that never giving up won't assure success. That's true. Some people never give up and they never succeed. So never giving up won't assure you success. But giving up definitely assures you not succeeding. That's like if you give up, there's a 100% chance of you not succeeding. But if you never give up, there's maybe some percentage, some chance of you succeeding. So the only chance of you succeeding is never giving up. If you give up, it's 100% no. You're never going to succeed. It's impossible. But if you never give up, you never know. And that's the only way that maybe one day you'll accomplish your goals. And I wish all of you guys accomplish your goals. And like I said it so many times and we all heard it a million times. But hey, I like repeating stuff because it gets into my subconscious brain and I actually reprogram my brain. But the more failures you face, the more you grow. The more you grow, the better you become. The better you become, the more accomplished you become. The more accomplished you become, the more successful you become. The more failures you face, the better you come at it. And the smarter you become, and just the closer you get to your goals. So try. And I also heard someone say once, try to like you should be quick to fail, and you should be looking to fail as quickly as possible and as much as possible, because that's the only time you learn something. When you succeed at something, you don't learn anything because everything you did was good and you succeeded and you won in some aspect or in some point in your life. So you don't learn anything. You don't grow. You get the fruits of your labor, but you don't grow. But when you face failure, then you can look back at what you did and look where you failed and what you did in certain steps that brought you to fail and which brought you to take an L. So that's the only way you can grow is through facing failures. And then, of course, not giving up. Because if you face a failure, then you just give up. Well, then you're always going to stay at the same level, quote unquote, that you were before you failed. The only way you can level up is by facing that failure, thinking about what you did, thinking about how next time you can do something better, how you can become better. Then you'll simply get one level better and then one level better. And then slowly, day by day, little levels getting better and better and better and better. And then after like certain amount of time, certain amount of years, you're going to be really, really well off than what you were in the beginning. That's the only reason why is because you didn't give up. That's the only reason why. Next topic. So the most successful man, this is something I heard on a documentary from LeBron James. He said that the most successful men are men who are capable of doing mundane stuff day after day, after week, month after month, year after year. Doing the mundane stuff that is really boring to do, really, really hard to do, and that no one feels like doing. Waking up and going to the gym every single day, it's mundane. It's not like a movie where there's Rocky, there's fucking Eye of the Tiger playing in the background, and then woman chanting your name. That's not how it works. You wake up when you don't feel like waking up. You go and hit the weights when you don't feel like hitting the weights. It's really mundane and a boring lifestyle, but it's what's needed. And really, really successful people are people who are capable of doing mundane stuff day after day with crazy consistency. I heard a quote once, someone who said, successful people are ordinary people who do ordinary stuff with extraordinary consistency, with extraordinary discipline. That's what successful people are. I think I had it here. The most successful people I know have boring routines, push themselves to do hard things, show up on days they don't feel like it, and don't need an audience to do it again tomorrow. It's as simple as that. It's a really, really mundane, hard lifestyle. And it's day after. It's not one day of the week. It's day after day after day. Consistency, 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 perseverance, persistence. It's all about persistence. The most successful men are normal human beings, are ordinary humans who do ordinary things like going to the gym, cold calling customers, looking for new clients, whatever your business is, whatever your profession is, whatever you do, whatever you want to be successful is doing it day after day. Ordinary people doing ordinary stuff, hard ordinary stuff with extraordinary discipline. That's how you become a successful individual, and that's what successful individuals look like. What else can I talk about? You need to treat yourself as best friend. Yeah, okay, many people, which this happens a lot, which is normal. It's really normal. We don't treat ourselves as if we were our own best friend. Some people, not everyone, but some people tend to treat others better than they treat themselves. I feel like maybe it's a human natural reaction. I don't know. But I see many human beings doing this. They treat others better than they treat themselves. They help others more than they help themselves. At the end of the day, it's good to help others and it's good to treat others with respect and with dignity, which is something we should all do. But at the end of the day, you should be your own best friend. You should treat yourself the best, and you should always look to what's best for me right now. That's for people who don't have kids. I know once you have kids, which I heard this many times, I don't have kids, but my brother has kids now. My father has me and my brother and many other people. Everyone who has kids, they all say that they would all give their life for their kids. So I guess when you have kids, your first priority is your kids. But for anyone else, you should always be your own best friend. Look what's best for you. And then, of course, if you can help others, why not? That's a really beautiful act. We can all help others from time to time. And of course, treat others with respect and dignity. But you cannot treat others with respect and dignity and help others, but then not respect yourself, not treat yourself with dignity, and not help yourself. Doesn't make sense. Always help yourself first. You should be your top priority, especially if you don't have kids. And always, like I said, be your own best friend. Because some people, and this is true, I heard someone say, I think it was Charlie Sheen who once said, some people, if you treated others the way you treated yourself, you wouldn't have any friends. Some people treat themselves so badly that if they were to treat others the way they treat themselves, they wouldn't have any friends. So sometimes, if you're that type of person, ask yourself this question: am I treating myself well? I need to be my own best friend, and I need to, at the end of the day, yes, I can help others. It's a really beautiful act. Treat others with respect and dignity. But I'm number one priority, and that should be for everyone. I feel like that's how life should be. And at the end of the day, if you don't have kids, you should always be your own priority. Okay, so let me do a quote from Socrates. And he said, it's a really, really popular quote amongst gym goers, amongst fitness enthusiasts. And he said, no man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. I agree. And one of the main reasons why I agree with this take from Socrates is, first of all, everyone has the opportunity and the possibility and the chance to be in really good shape and to not be an amateur in the fitness world and just going to the gym. Everyone has that chance of eating healthy and going to the gym and being healthy and just seeing the beauty and the strength of which your body is capable. We're all capable of being strong, of being fast, of being in shape, and of having a quote-unquote beautiful body. We all have that possibility. No matter where you're born, no matter what your background is, no matter who your parents is, no matter what your nationality is, no matter what your race is, no matter what your height is, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your political affiliations are, we all have the possibility to be in shape. Now, like, let's say we don't all have the chance to be Usain Bolt, right? You have to be born with a certain level of talent. And then amongst people who are born with that crazy, freakish talent, then amongst them, the one who works the most, maybe with a little bit of luck, a lot of hard work, one of them will be the fastest. Even if I trained 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single year, I would have never been as fast as Usain Bolt because I don't have that talent inside of me. But everyone, literally everyone, has the opportunity to be in shape and to see the strength and beauty of which his body is capable of. That's why everyone, not everyone now, I understand some people care more about going to the gym than others, but everyone should at least once in their lifetime see what it looks like to be strong, in shape, run fast, feel healthy, go to the gym, do pull-ups, bench press, push-ups, whatever. It's a nice feeling, and you look good, you feel good, and you feel better, and it's just, you're going to be more confident in your everyday life with women, at work, with everything. You're just going to feel better, man. And that's why I feel like the number one reason is because we all have that chance. Like, literally all human beings have the chance of being in shape. Now, of course, some exceptions to the rule. Someone who's in an hospital bed and can't get up, that's something else. But you know what I mean when I say that all human beings have the chance of being in shape. Okay, so let's do a little fun fact, then some Bible verses to finish the episode, maybe some little quotes. But fun fact, for people who didn't know, the slogan, "Just Do It" from Nike, "Just Do It," actually came from someone who was on death row, an inmate who was on death row from a firing squad. And the firing squad asked the guy any last words, and he said, "Just do it." Now, I ain't gonna lie, that's a top G move. Broski, you're facing like 10 guns from a firing squad. I personally probably would have started crying. I ain't gonna lie, I probably would have started crying, like saying like, "No, broski, please, don't kill me. I'm gonna change, whatever, I don't know." And I would have probably had some last words. The guy was probably there. He didn't give a fuck. Probably a psychopath. I ain't gonna lie, probably a psychopath. He didn't give a fuck. He just said, "Man, just do it." That's a top G move. But I really found it interesting that that's where Nike took their slogan of "Just Do It." And I just felt like sharing that little fun fact with you guys. Okay, so what else? Oh no, and actually, Charlie Sheen, like I said, I watched the documentary and I find him really, like, maybe not inspiring, but I find him really, like, interesting. Because when you look at him, the way he talks, the way he acts from outside, he looks all calm. He looks like of the calm nature. He looks like a really wise guy. But deep down, bro, he was an alcoholic, a huge drug user. Like, he was really wild. But when I watched his movies when he was younger, when I watched his interviews when he wasn't high or drunk, when he was simply not high or drunk, he looked like a really normal and healthy individual mentally. He looked really healthy individually, mentally. But then, bro, like, when you hear all the stories of him drinking, partying like an animal, doing all sorts of drugs, sleeping with a lot of escorts or a lot of prostitutes, and just being like the peak party boy you can be, it's like from one extreme to another. That's why I find him so interesting, because when you look at him, like I said, when he's not high on substances, on drugs or on alcohol, he's really like calm, and he looks like he's really, like, you know how people from Buddha temples, they look like all zen and calm? That's how he looks like. But then you hear all these stories of him being fucking a party boy. And then I guess it's when alcohol and when drugs hit you, you act all differently. I don't know. I never really tried drugs. I never even smoked weed in my life, so I don't even know what being high looks like. So I don't know, but that's why I find him interesting. And also, of course, him being extremely talented, one of the greatest actors of his generation, and just him having a really successful lifestyle. And just the fact that he survived everything that he survived, that's crazy. Like, I know once on an interview, he said that he had tiger blood. He was probably high on drugs and probably just high on drugs when he did that interview, the famous interview. Well, I think it was with CNN. I'm not sure. When he did that famous interview, when he said, "I don't know why I'm not dead. Everything that I did, everyone else would have been dead. I'm not dead. I probably have tiger blood." Maybe he fucking has tiger blood, because everything he did, and people backed up what he said, like all the amounts of cocaine he did and crack and everything. Like, people who partied with him, they all said, yeah, it's true. When he said that he did 8 grams of cocaine in one night, it's true, because I saw him do it. That's crazy. So I guess maybe he's genetically built different. I guess he's fucking actually built different, because when you look at him now, being 8 years sober and him being close to 60 years old, he looks healthy. Like, bro, like, I don't fucking know. Like, he did all this shit and he still looks really healthy. He's been sober for 8 years. Hey, knock on wood, he stays sober for the rest of his life. I hope this time is going to be the good time, because many times in the past he was sober, but he fucked it up. I hope this time's a good time, but I just find him a really, really interesting character. He's a really, really talented actor, and I'm fond of him. I like him. He's a really, he seems like a good guy. He never did anything illegal. He only self-sabotaged himself. He never inflicted pain onto others. So I guess he's a good guy. He's just really self-destructive. That's why they say that he was really, really self-destructive. And they actually said he had everything, which he did. He had money, fame, looks, status, everything. And he was really self-destructive. Like, if I had all of that, naturally you would tell yourself to not be self-destructive, right? Because you have everything. So why would you want to destroy everything you have? I don't know. I guess just like some mental issue. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I just find that really, really interesting. Okay, let's do some Bible verses. First one, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like I said, in this world, the only constant is change. We tend to look at certain paths and want to follow a certain other individual's path, but we all have our own path. So just trust the process, follow your own path, and everything's going to make sense at the end. Next Bible verse, Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Timing in life is really, really important. There's a time for everything. Sometimes you just have to be patient, because at the end of the day, everything's going to make sense. Sometimes you have to act quick with intensity. Other times you have to be patient, act slowly. There's a time for everything. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. As human beings, we're all social creatures. We're all social creatures, like it or not. We depend on other humans to accomplish our dreams, to get married, to have kids, to have a job, to have a social. We're all social beings. So that's why we all depend on others. Even though some people like being the lone wolf, and like we like to believe in ourselves that we don't depend on others, but all human beings, like it or not, we all live in a society. We all depend on one another for certain things. Like, let's say you want to get to your job with your car. Well, in a certain way, you depended on someone fixing the roads that you're driving your car on, someone creating the car that you're driving in, and someone just making the lights, red lights, stop, whatever. So in a way, we're all dependent on one another, which is normal. We all live in society. We're all social creatures, and that's just normal. Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I know once someone said, Paulo Coelho on his book, The Alchemist, he said that where your heart is, there is your treasure. We all have different purpose in this world, and we all have a different treasure. We all have a treasure. The way to accomplish your treasure and to reach your treasure and your goals is by following your heart with fear, without fear, with a harsh determination, and with just bravery. You have to face your fears so that you can get your treasure, which we all have, and we all have different treasures. Let's do one last Bible verse, Micah 6:8. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. At the end of the day, no matter how much you accomplish, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, always be humble, because you never know what's going to happen. You can go from being a peasant to a king to a peasant again. And I always take the same example. Lionel Andres Messi, the greatest football player of all time, which is also the biggest sport on planet Earth. And he's so fucking humble. He could be cocky as fuck, but he isn't. Why? Because he walks humbly with God. That's how we should all be. If Messi can be humble, so can you, because Messi is the greatest football player of all time, and it's just fucking crazy. If he can be humble, we should all be humble. That's just crazy. Maybe I can do last one. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. With Christ, we can accomplish anything, even our wildest dreams. Like someone said, if your dreams don't scare you, you don't dream big enough. And with Christ, with Jesus Christ, we can accomplish anything with him who strengthens us. Guys, this was it for this episode. See you next episode. Peace out.